Right guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be going over the BMW B47 reliability and common problems of 2025. So let's get onto it. So as you'll see here, this is the BMW B47 engine. Now this will be found in a lot of your 120Ds, 420Ds, 320Ds, 220Ds. It was put into a lot of BMW engines. And now if many of you guys remember, I did a video on this engine roughly around 3 years ago, and everyone said to me, you are so wrong. This engine's new. How do you know all these problems are going to happen? And so many of you now are coming to me saying how right I was. Because when I did that video, the B47 was still very new and many of you didn't even own it. Like to the point that when I put them videos out there, it wasn't even getting any views until maybe 2 years later. And that's when everyone started coming. People are still trying to tell me today who are just buying them, oh, mine's only on 50K. Touch wood, it hasn't had any issues yet, but it's going to. They are riddled in problems being a 2-litre engine. And the first one, which we all know about, is the EGR valve cooler. As many of you guys know, this was a problem on the B57s. This is a problem on the B37. It's a problem on the N57, to the point even the police were getting rid of their BMWs for this EGR valve cooler leaking and cracking, causing fires in the engine bay. Many of you guys know there's probably an outstanding recall still for you to have it done, or maybe it's already been done. That's why I said probably, purely because if you own it, probably one of the owners who had it before you probably had already had it done, because everyone knows about that recall. They were problematic and they were gonna leak anyway. And I did say that on my last P47 video. I will link that video above because you guys will see I said everything in that video, what I'm gonna say here. And everyone told me I would be wrong and that it wasn't gonna happen. It was a new engine. And I did try and tell people a lot of them parts on that B47 were moved over from the M47, but nobody wanted to believe me. And a lot of the parts on the B47 as well were moved from the N57, like the EGR valve cooler. How they could go and put that part onto the B47 when BMW knew that was a failure already on the N series engines, to the point the police will end up even stopping the contract with them, and then they go and put it on the B47. Now, as many of you guys know, they do crack, they do leak, and they leak such a fluid out that can actually cause your car to burst into flames. If you haven't had that recall done, I would strongly advise you to go and get that done on your B47. The next one on the B47, and as we all know, is the torsion damper. Now, if many of you guys don't know what that is, that's basically connected to the crankshaft pulley. It is the vibration damper that comes on diesel engines to obviously soften the drive while driving, because as many of you guys know, diesel's got a lot of vibration. And if you didn't have that crankshaft pulley, you would feel it in the cabin a lot. That's what makes the BMW's diesel engines feel so smooth and so soft, purely because they use that on their pulleys. Could you imagine all that vibration coming through your car? But yes, they are known to crack, they are known to split, and they are known to break down. And it's a very, very common problem on the B47 engine. Again, that was never rectified. Diesels just suffer with that really, really badly. I am not sure why that is. I think it's just due to a lot of heat, stress, strain on the engine that ends up they end up breaking down, and therefore you have to replace it. Now, as we all know, they're not expensive to replace, but obviously when they do go wrong, you will have a lot of vibration coming through the cabin of your car, and you'll also end up with probably your belt derailing if you don't sort it out as well, because it will be moving side to side, which can end up literally derailing your belt as well on the side of things as well, so it'll stop your alternator and everything else that the belt is actually driving on that engine. The next one on them is the DPF system. Now, the DPF system is very, very known to clog up, and a lot of the time for clogging up is because of carbon buildup, because of people using these on short drives. Now, I have said before, and I did say when I did my B47, having a DPF system was a bad thing that BMW done. But unfortunately, they had to do it for emissions purposes. But as many of you guys know, you're probably having problems with your DPF on your B47. The DPF will carbon up, and there is no way to really clean it, especially if your glow plugs ain't working. On the B47, like all the diesel engines, the glow plugs do go out. That's just the way these diesel are, because they end up carboning up all the glow plugs really, really badly, and they end up stop working. My best advice is to get them replaced, because if you don't have them working, the car won't be able to do a proper regeneration, which means it won't clear all the carbon out the DPF. Why your DPF will be blocked, because them glow plugs ain't working to do a regen. And you've got to remember the regen takes place every time when you drive it, when it comes up to temp, and when the engine wants it to, the DPF sensor will detect it and then force the car to do a regeneration to clear out the DPF while you're on a long drive, usually while you're on the motorway. But a lot of people who buy these B47s end up buying them to pot around town. I have no idea why you guys buy a diesel to use it to go local. You lot will use it just to go to the local supermarket, to go to work 2 miles. Why in the God's name would you buy a diesel engine? Why don't you buy a petrol? And I'm not talking the 4-cylinder petrol, buy a 6-cylinder petrol. If you're only doing that type of mileage, it doesn't make sense to run a 2-litre diesel. Why? Why would you want a 2-litre diesel? I don't understand. I don't do more than probably 200 miles in a month, and I don't even use a full tank of fuel in my M52 engine at all throughout that whole month because I don't drive anywhere. I really don't. It doesn't make sense to me why you guys want to buy diesels. I really have no clue, and none of you even do the mileage. Let's face it, do you do 12,000 miles a year? Do any of you do 15,000 miles a year? I highly doubt it. When was the last time that car saw a long travel? Like for instance, a 3-hour travel, maybe 160, 170 miles. Do you do that a week? No, you don't. This is what I mean. What is the point of owning a diesel? Please explain to me your reason for that, because I'm telling you right now, none of you will have a valid reason for owning that. All you're going to try and give me is a load of crap, a load of bullshit about the torque, the power. I'm sorry, you can get a petrol that's more powerful than that. You can get this 3-litre M52 produces more power than your B47. So I don't understand why you would buy that. You could go and buy the M55, the 6-cylinder petrol turbo engine as well. That still produces more power than that B47 or the M47. So why do you guys choose and opt to buy the B47? Make it make sense to me. Tell me your reason for owning that. Please tell me. Look, they don't go any cheaper, because if any of you have the B47, that's in the F series. They don't go any cheaper than your normal, M135 or M140. You could pick one of them up for the amount of money you guys spend on a 420D X drive or 320D X drive. You really can. So I don't understand the mentality of buying a diesel. Me, if I knew I wasn't going to do the mileage and I'm not driving, 180 miles all week or going on a motorway, I am not buying a diesel. It does not make sense to me. What the fuck do I want a diesel to drive around town for? What in the God's name makes anybody in their brain think I'm going to buy a diesel? It doesn't make sense. So the next one on the B47, guys, is the swell flaps. Now, as many of you guys know, the swell flaps are built into the intake manifold on the B47. And when they carbon up, due to people doing short trips and your DPF not doing the regeneration and all carbon suited up because, nobody's driving them long enough to get them up to temperature, the swell flaps become seized. Now, in turn, when the swell flaps actually become seized, your motor, which is an electronic motor that drives the swell flaps open and close, ends up snapping as well, and they've got cogs inside. The motor ends up snapping, you have to buy a whole new motor and also a whole new intake manifold. Now, I know all about this because I've done many M57s, and I'm telling you right now, the manifolds on them are an absolute nightmare to get off, and also all the vacuum lines, the way they've got them laid out all over the engine is an absolute nightmare. I hate the fact that you have to replace the whole manifold. It ain't like the good old M47, M57. Take out the swell flaps, put your manifold back on, job done. BMW made it complicated because they didn't want you to be able to remove them. Now I get why, they've done it all for emissions purposes, but many of you guys, if they do seize up, your car will literally bog down on power and not run at all. And if the swell flaps do fail, you will get the drivetrain malfunction as well. It'll feel like you're losing boost. I know all about that because, as I said, I've had many M57s here that had that same symptom purely because the swell flaps were completely seized and the car was stuck in drivetrain malfunction mode until you replaced the whole intake manifold. And trust me, it felt absolute crap low down on power. And every time you went to boost it, boom, the light would come on until I replaced that manifold. After I replaced that manifold, it was like night and day between the two, complete night and day. Now the next one on the B47 that everyone said to me weren't gonna happen is the timing chain failure. Everyone said to me, oh no, the timing chains won't fail on the B47, this, that, the other, is super reliable. Unfortunately, there's been loads of cases of the timing chain failing, and I mean loads. The timing chain is failing on the B47 night and day with a lot of people having to rebuild them. Again, I did say to everybody, BMW used the same parts from the N47, N57 into the B47. And people were like, no, 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 no. But if you go and look online, there's many people with their timing chains failing. And many of you guys would have probably had yours fail as well. Like I said, The 4-cylinder diesel engines and petrol engines, BMW never got right and never will. They will always have timing chain failures. This is why I'm saying to you guys, I don't understand why you guys would ever drive these cars or buy these cars. And you can sit here and blame BMW, but I blame you guys because you guys go and buy them. So you are actually funding BMW to continue to do this. If you guys said, no, you're not buying it, you're gonna buy the 6 cylinders only, BMW wouldn't make them. But as long as you guys keep going in there like sheep and you keep buying them, it's like taking a lamb to the slaughter. And that's what it is with you guys. You guys just keep buying and buying and buying them. Unfortunately, I'm not one of them idiots who go and buy any kind of 2 litres. Have no interest in it. The one I had wasn't mine when I done the videos for it, so thank God I didn't have to worry about it. I could floor the crap out of it, rag it around, and then send it back. It wasn't my car to care about. Thank goodness. But you guys, this is your car. And like I said, if the timing chain does fail, you end up with a lot of rattling coming from the engine, and also you have misfire codes. You'll also be misfiring. Your car will be running rough. It'll be cutting out, stalling, starting up, then stalling again. That's where the timing chain and the timing is not in sync, which means that of course you're gonna end up with misfires and the car's gonna end up cutting out and stalling. So if you do hear any funny noises on your B47, get it repaired quickly, because it can fail and will fail on the B47 engine. And many of you guys told me on my last video, oh no, they're not gonna fail. Well, guess what? They're all flipping failing. And I know that very, very well. And there you go. I was not lying about that subject either. The next one on them, as I've said, is carbon buildup. Now, carbon buildup is all due to people doing short trips on diesel engines, because an analysis has been proven that they took a diesel car that was used all around town every day to a diesel car that was used on the highway every day. Now, when they did the analysis, the one that was used on the highway had 40% carbon buildup. The one that was used around town had 75% carbon buildup. Now, I'm not saying they all don't get carbon buildup, because of course they do. But the one that was used the most, coming up to temperature, driven a lot, ended up with less carbon buildup than the ones that were used to push pot around town. And you know why that is? Because the coolant circulating around the engine, getting the engine hot, making the carbon and soot break down. It's going through the EGR properly. It's going through the manifold, which is then killing all that carbon and soot. And when the glow plugs work and doing its regeneration, when it goes over 70 miles an hour on the highway, it's letting it all out and getting rid of it. Where the ones around town are not getting up to temperature in time. They know, the computers know by the speed. So for instance, the DME will read, if you're not over a certain speed, it is not going to do a DPF regen. It's not just going to do a DPF regen every time you start the car. It's also not going to do one doing 30 miles an hour. It has to be at 70 miles an hour for a certain amount of time. I think it's over 10 minutes constant for it to do a DPF regen. It does not do a regen just sitting outside your house or potting around town. If you guys think it does, you're absolutely mad. They will never ever do that, and BMW doesn't make them to do that. You can't do a DPF regen in the middle of a city centre and allow all that black smoke to just come out. It doesn't work like that. To do a DPF regen, you guys have to be taking your cars on the highway. I'm telling you, if you listen to me, your cars will run smoother than ever. If you've got any issues of lumping it running or hot, or you know, a stinky smell coming in your car, go and take your car onto the highway. Get the DPF cleaned out. Trust me, driving it hard onto the highway is the best way to clean it all out. Get that engine hot, get them glow plugs blowing hot, and it will clear all that DPF, all that carbon and soot buildup. Trust me what I'm telling you. Another common problem on the BMW B47 engine is the turbochargers failing. They suffer with oil starvation. Now, if any of you guys don't know, the oil filters on the B series engines had a big problem with the oil filter disintegrating, and also the oil flow not getting to the turbos properly. So many people were having a big problem with turbo failures on the B47. Now, this was common on the early ones, but on the later ones, they did rectify this. But like I said, it can still happen on the newer ones as well if you don't maintain your car properly. A lot of people just hammer them around. They think they're in some kind of M car when really they're not. They're in a diesel, to put it bluntly. They're not in an M car. They hammer them around, throw them around the bend, and then they wonder why their turbo suffers with oil starvation. Then they just get to their destination, switch the engine off, never mind the turbo's boiling hot and it's still spooling, hasn't cooled down. Then they turn it off, then they start it back up, go and rag it around again, drive it like a madman, and then do the same thing again. They don't let the turbo cool down, neither to it to warm up. They just floor it up and down constantly. All these turbocharger issues all come from user error. That's what they come from. This is not a problem from BMW because many people have turbochargers on their cars for life and never have no issue. When I've had turbocharged cars, I can safely say, put this on hand on my heart, I have gone thousands and thousands of miles, whether it's petrol or diesel, and I have never, I mean never, had to replace a turbo, ever. So I don't know what you guys are doing that you're always having to replace your turbos, because for me, I don't have to replace them. Why? Because I'm a responsible person. I'm very good with my cars. I know how to look after them. I don't rag the crap out of the turbo and then just switch it off. I let it cool down. I wait until the oil's up to temp before kicking in the turbo constantly, but a lot of people don't understand that, and then that's why they end up damaging the turbochargers. Now the next one on the B47 is oil leaks, and the main one for causing an oil leak on the B47 is the EGR cooler. Now, we've already spoken about the EGR cooler. They can cause a massive, massive mess under the engine bay, and the oil leaks from it is the reason why they end up catching fire. This is why I'm telling you guys, if the recall is outstanding on your BMW B47, go and get it done immediately. You can check online on the government websites for the recall and go and get it done, because that oil leak as well is what then leaks down onto the vibration damper, which ends up rotting it out and causing it to go out in the first place, because the oil just keeps dripping, dripping, dripping. And you've got to remember the vibration jumper is all rubber. So once it starts cracking down due to the heat and obviously oil getting onto it, then that's what's going to cause all your vibration coming through the cabin and the vibration damper wearing out. That's why I'm telling you guys, if you haven't had the recall, go and get it done. And I know BMW recalled it, I think twice, for the EGR cooler, because it was a big, big problem on the B47, M47, B37. So make sure to go and get it done. But there you have it, guys. That's everything relating to the BMW B47 reliability and the common problems. Like I said, I done that video 3 years ago, and I did tell everyone this was not going to be a reliable engine. People didn't believe me. Everyone was saying, how could I be saying that so soon? It's still too early. But I was completely right. That engine is still unreliable. And would I ever own one? No, I wouldn't. And if any of you guys have got it, like I said, try and get rid of it as quick as you can, because with that engine, it's like playing Russian roulette. You never know if it's going to make it to 100K or not. And if you have made it to 100K, you're still at risk with the timing chain that could possibly fail at some point. And you know what? That's why you do see a lot of them cars, especially here in the UK, on the motorway, people being stranded, people having to be recovered from their timing chains failing. And I do see a lot of the new 1 Series with that engine in actually sitting at the side of the road all the time. And it's an absolute joke, like I said. So don't tell me I'm wrong, because the timing chains do fail on them and that engine is not reliable. Would I ever own one? Hell flipping no. No, I wouldn't. As it is, like I told you, I have no reason for a diesel. If I had any need for a diesel, then it would be the B57. Would I own a B47? No. I have got no need for it. But you guys do have it, and like I said, do please think about it. Do you really need a diesel to run around town? If you're not warranting the mileage to go on the motorway to do the mileage, I think realistically you guys should sell it and go and get yourself a petrol. And I don't mean a 2 litre, I don't mean a 1.5 litre engine. Stop being cheap. Them engines are going to cost you more than a 3 litre petrol to maintain and run. Trust me what I'm telling you. I tell everybody that, and when they leave the 2 litre and get a 3 litre, everyone says I was right. The amount of money they were spending on maintenance on their 2 litre diesel engine or 2 litre petrol engine, they went to the 3 litre, and they'd rather spend more on the insurance on the car, because it was costing them less problems with the engine. The amount they were putting onto the insurance, they could just wake up and drive their car and be peaceful, compared to having every time dreading getting in their car and having an issue. But that's all I have to say about it, guys. That is the BMW B47 reliability and common problems video. Thank you very much for watching this. BMW Dr. Dean here, and goodbye.